Hi, I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Welcome to Conversatio. Hi, I'm your host, Prince Lee. Conversatio is the program that presents those issues that will help us all to live a better life. Today's topic is elections. Not only vote, but ensure the process, a member's responsibility. Our special guest today is Mr. Jimmy Griffith, who's a life member of the NAACP, a past state conference Connecticut president, and also past president of the local chapter of the NAACP in Waterbury, Connecticut. Welcome, Jimmy.
Hey, how you doing, Prince?
I wanted to include in your credits, perhaps the purpose of today's shows is that you're a challenged member, if that might be a better term to speak. Okay, and what is your challenged membership? What's the basis of the challenge of your membership?
Well, I really don't know at this point. I know that there are certain allegations in relationship to my going outside of the organization with internal business, maybe posting Facebook comments that were not, I guess, favorable or satisfactory to the leadership of the organization. I have yet to find anything that rises to the level of defamatory, as they've stated. But at this point, that's what it is. That's not the only thing that I can think of. I'm a little surprised that at the national president being involved in such a local issue, but I guess, I must have called for that.
Well, I would gather that, if you're highlighting just the process of the elections in general, even though I believe that you were given some sort of oversight responsibilities by the local chapter on elections.
Yeah, well, let me just, back up a little bit. And actually what happened was there was an election a couple of years ago in the Waterbury branch, and there had been two previous elections that I had been involved in that involved election controversies. So this would be the fourth election process that I was involved in that involved some controversy. Early on, based on my past experience, being familiar with the procedural things with the NAACP and the bylaws, I saw some problems developing in the Waterbury branch election. I forewarned the local branch leadership internally that I saw these problems, and I made it very clear to them, and I documented that in an email to the branch secretary, the president, and the executive committee of the branch. Apparently, they just ignored me to the point where I contacted the national office and, via email, the director of branch and field operations, and basically said to him, look, we've got some problems in Waterbury, and we would like for you to, I would like for you to take a look at this before it goes too far.
Well, how would something like that have been resolved? Would have been through an open meeting process or a committee process, just to give and take? If you're saying, hey, Waterbury, you're not procedurally, you're not up to snuff. So how do you resolve the fact that you felt that procedurally they weren't?
One of the problems I think I've had, and I think most members have had, that I've kind of come in contact with, is there's disconnect with the national office in relationship to being responsive to the membership.
Okay.
You know, and it's sort of like you're non-existent kind of thing, and we had the same problem here with the state conference. The state conference is the intermediary between the national and the local branches. We have a state conference of branches, and that means that we have a collection of branches throughout the state of Connecticut in some of your major cities. Those branches operate under the coordination of the state conference, which is led by Scott Esdale.
Which you used to be also the...
Yes, I used to be that.
The state conference is also a conduit between the national and the
Exactly,
local level.
because what happened some years ago, because of finance, well, actually money problems, I guess, the NAACP eliminated their regional offices. There were 10 regional offices throughout the country, and those 10 regional offices served, like the Northeast region would be New York, New Jersey, along Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine. All those states were in the Northeast region, and they had a director that was based in New York City.
Right.
That was our regional setup. As years went by, what happened is that because of finances and stuff, they trimlined this. They went back and they decided that they were going to let state conferences take over the regional directors' responsibilities. So we ended up with a situation like that in Connecticut, where the state conference oversees the election process and things of that sort.
For our audience, let's back up a second. The NAACP, its mission, its purpose, you know, a one-liner.
Well, I mean, you know, it's to ensure equal opportunity and equal rights for all people, really, and people of color in particular. When it was first started, it was started because of the massive lynchings that were going on in the country, and you know, some white liberals got together with W.B. Du Bois, and they got together in 1908, 1999, right after the Niagara movement, where Du Bois had a bunch of blacks that were up in Canada that came into the country. What happened was, you know, they came together and they set up the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People back in 1909. And the mission was, at that time, really was to eradicate the lynches that were going on, the massive lynches that were going on across the country.
You mentioned Du Bois, and his initial responsibility position was that of publicity. And I guess what we would consider like media
The crisis.
And the paper. What has happened to that function? Because we are talking about a publicity issue, and some I would gather at the national having some sort of oversight as to publication.
Yeah, I think what has happened is that the NAACP traditionally, and most groups, are pressure groups, and pressure groups usually operate with advocacy, and media plays a major role in advocacy. If you don't have access to media, you can't get your message out. Okay, so the NAACP has used the media, the Crisis magazine, and their other tools that they may have had, in order to apply pressure, public and social pressure, to bring about a focus on these issues that we're talking about, whether it be discrimination in education, employment, whatever, prisons, incarcerations, all those things, just anything that was disproportionately unrepresented.
Well, has the whole issue of updating the organization so far as the communication tools, Facebook obviously being a social network, being one of them, is that updated to the point where someone could be more accepting of the position that you were put in?
Well, no, what happened is that social networking has allowed an unfiltered kind of opportunity for individuals to express their First Amendment rights. And a lot of people, even the newspapers, don't like the idea that social networking allows individuals to have free speech, and they have their own opinion, and it's like I said, unfiltered.
Right.
So you could speak truth to power. You're responsible for what you say now. That doesn't mean that you're irresponsible in making those comments. But usually when I make comments based on facts. I don't make comments haphazardly on the air. So throughout my career, which spans way back to in the 60s, I've never ever had too much of a problem with my media presence because I speak truth to power.
Well, it seems to me that for your being such a stickler for detail, especially in the election area and procedures, that would belie any sort of loose cannon type of scenario on your part that might be projected for you.
Yeah, I'd say so, because what happens is that when I'm neglected, or if I'm ignored by an organization or anybody that I feel has a responsibility to me,
right,
as a member, as a voter, as a citizen, then I think that I have a right to demand a certain amount of respect. If you set up procedures and laws that you're supposed to follow, or bylaws, then you should follow those bylaws. That's the way I am. And when people don't do it, I raise the issue. So if that's being a rabble-rouser, I guess I'm a rabble-rouser.
Yeah, I'm taking with the purpose of the organization and the position that you've found yourself in, and I'm thinking about this: who can I turn to? For a lot of people, that question, who can I turn to, has been answered by the NAACP, or they expect it to be answered by the NAACP.
Yeah, well, the NAACP...
And you were put in that position also.
Look,
who can I turn to?
Well, let me put it like this. That's one of the issues that I'm faced with. I think the NAACP should be there and more responsive. And I think that somewhere along the road, we've missed the boat. We've become a bureaucracy, somewhat like the bureaucracies that we're fighting against. I think we should be more external, more outreaches. Some water, so. A little.
Okay. Who can I turn to? It seems that you were faced with that same situation of, gee, I want to tell the local people, here's what you need to do. If I'm not mistaken, you were given some sort of oversight responsibility to the elections, and that got bandied about of whether or not that should be oversight locally or oversight at the national. Was the national going to look at it, or they're going to kick it back down to the state? Who's going to have oversight of these election process? And if you saw that things weren't proceeding properly or correctly, who are you going to turn to? Who are you going to say, hey, who upstairs is going to listen to me that I've said something to these people and they still haven't got it? How do I get this across?
Well, that's what happened. What happened was, and this has been happening throughout my involvement with the NAACP, it seemed like when people ignore you or people don't respond to you, there's very little alternative you have. And I found that a couple of times I had to go outside of the organization and raise the issue publicly, and that's what they, I guess, are upset about also. I believe that, this term dirty laundry really bothers me. It bothers me because dirty laundry to me means that there's corruption or something not right within an organization that you're involved with. And if you have dirty laundry, then to me, something's wrong internally, and you need to deal with it by trying to clean it up. I don't think that you could clean it up by covering it up.
Right.
So that's where I think we differ at. If there's problems internally and we need to solve them internally, but if we can't solve them internally, what do we do? I think that's the real issue here.
Well, it seems to me that some of the problems that the NAACP experience now are maybe in two specific areas, okay, and maybe one ties into the other, that being elections and membership, specifically membership growth, to have enough people, to have enough leaders who have enough skills and can run, the business of the NAACP. And you're trying to do something about this electoral process. What needs to be done from a purist point of view?
I think
process.
I think the problem is that, first of all, you don't have enough really. It's a volunteer organization, all right. And even though we have a staff in the national office and some staff people in the state, the people that take on these responsibilities in the local branch must realize that there's a bigger commitment than they might realize when they get involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what's happening is that there's so much apathy around all over in the black community, especially in Latino communities, where people just don't want to get involved for some reason. They've got a mindset that's like antiquated at this particular point. They're living in another era. It's almost like a post-slavery kind of syndrome that exists, where the mindset of our people are really, really in bad shape. We're in a modernized slavery kind of state of mind, a lot of us. And we don't want to accept that. And our leadership doesn't want to accept that. And I think that we have to look ourselves dead in the face and say, look, we've got a problem, we need to deal with it, and it's deeper than just an organization. It goes into the family, it goes into the educational system, and it goes into a lot of things that our history especially. We need to get more involved in knowing about our history.
So does there need to be an appeal to the public that, hey, we need more, we need you, we need more members, we need more of a membership, okay? So there is an NAACP cause that should be adopted by the public.
Oh, of course. I mean, I'm not anti-NAACP. I'm anti-people that are not ready to follow the procedures of the NAACP that are involved in the NAACP. I feel that if you're going to have an organization that's going to set an example of fighting for civil rights and equal opportunity, that we have to be the same way with each other. We can't be on one way on the outside and another way on the inside. All right, so that's what my biggest struggle has been. It has nothing to do with personalities as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I go back to 1974. When I was awarded, out of 1 out of 7 in the nation, the Roy Wilkins Scholarship. 1 out of 7 in the nation. It was a great honor for me.
Right.
I was in the Crisis magazine way back then. And Ella Anderson was the state president of the NAACP, first black woman and first president back then. And Ella was the one that presented me with the award. So that's what gave me the incentive and the motivation, all right, to really become a supporter and a staunch supporter of the NAACP, because at that time I really wasn't involved. I applied for the scholarship and I got the scholarship,
Right.
And ever since then I've had a personal commitment to the organization.
Well, getting back to this, the cause, the public's taking up the cause to help increase the membership or help its helper, the NAACP. As a result of the prep for this interview, I was exposed to a social network, which is basically called Matrix 3, and they're part of the social project. And point being is that they have the infrastructure similar to Facebook, but I guess a little less public, which is part. You know, how do you get to your market? How do you get to this network of equally interested people without being so public? And Facebook can bite you. In reality,
it could bite you. But that's what I can't understand. People that don't want to be on Facebook shouldn't be on Facebook.
Right.
People that are not responsible should not be on Facebook. All right.
The word responsible is it's like key through here that you need with this social network. Social network businesses, anyone needs to be socially responsible. So you need an outfit or communications infrastructure that is going to be socially responsible.
Yeah, but everybody uses see, I don't use Facebook like normal people do.
Right.
And I guess that's one of the criticisms they have of me. I know the media. When I was in college, I ran a college newspaper, and I was pretty involved in media all throughout my life. So I understand media, and I understand the manipulation that media has done to our people over the years.
Right.
Social networking, if used properly, is a tool by which you could actually educate and inform your people about the real.
If you have the right initiative.
If you have the right initiative and
right.
you have the right mindset.
Right.
I used, and people call me Mr. Fake. They call me a lot of names, but what happens is I've taken Facebook and I made it into my little crisis magazine kind of thing, or my little communications network, and how I communicate with people.
Right.
People could like me. They have an opinion. They could dislike me. They could respond to me. They could do anything they want.
Well, what about the local branch? There's a media and communications function. Is there a committee at the Waterbury branch? There is such an animal as the media communications.
That's where the problem comes in. Is that there's this idea that that the media is a bad. It is bad.
But there's that function within that branch. Somebody has a responsibility.
No.
There's an individual there.
No. Nobody has the responsibility.
Nobody has that responsibility.
There's every branch should have a public relations committee or a public committee. So media committee or whatever you want to call it. Every branch should have one.
But they don't, because they don't have the person
because the participation is so low in a lot of the NAACP branches, and that's just like I said, it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of apathy. There's just not enough people around that are volunteering. There's an image problem right now, and one of the reasons I'm on this show is for that reason, because they just threw me out of the organization. Well, basically told me, take a walk, because I was telling them that I didn't like the way they were operating.
The audience, so you can see where Mr. Griffith's problem lies in that you could help him. Okay, go out there and think about Jimmy Griffith and join in the name of Jimmy Griffith. Join the NAACP. Help him out, so perhaps you can help out their media and communications effort. Take that seriously as a cause.
Case in point, the way that this whole thing was handled, the way that this suspension was handled, is a good example of a flawed kind of reaction to us. I think a problem that could have been solved internally. That someone could have gave me a call. Someone could have called a meeting. It's not like they don't know who I am. They know who I am. Apparently, they know who I am. For something to be in the national news and coming out of Waterbury, Connecticut, with a branch with less than 100 members, what's going on? Something strange going on here. there's some politics involved in this more than meets the eye, and that's why I'm here, because the people in the state of Connecticut, or the people around the state of Connecticut and the nation, need to know that there's something else bigger than this in order for them to come after me like this.
This goes beyond the Waterbury branch.
It must. I mean,
does it include maybe the Hartford branch?
Well, Bridgeport.
Hartford, Bridgeport,
Yeah,
Waterbury.
yeah, especially. You know, there's just there's a lot of disorganization apparently. The state conference is responsible for that, for the oversight. When I was state conference president, that was my responsibility.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that somehow that responsibility has been misplaced in some kind of way.
Well, would the state conference be limited by the same sorts of dynamics that limit the local branch so far as memberships, I guess maybe professionalism?
Well, see, that's what people have to understand, that the state conference is not a branch. The state conference is a collection of branches. Okay, the branches make up the state conference.
Okay.
The state conference is a guiding mechanism for the branches, which means that if Waterbury has some trouble, then I should go into Waterbury and straighten it out. All right, if I'm the state conference president. If Bridgeport has some problems, I should go into the Bridgeport and straighten it out. That's what my job would be as state conference president. So if there's something going on in the branches, and we all know about it, then it should never get to the point where the Waterbury branch got to.
If I, as state conference president, do I have to enlist the national support? I know there's a department within at the national.
The state conference is set up. The state conference is set up to deal with everything that the national office deals with now. That's what I'm trying to tell you. When they took away the regional offices, they made the state conferences the regional offices. Okay, so anything that happens in the state of Connecticut goes to the state first,
right?
Then to the national if it can't be resolved in the state level. That's how this got to the national level, because it couldn't be resolved at a state level. This branch election in Waterbury could have been resolved by the state conference. The state conference was the mechanism that oversaw.
Was it as simple as a matter of proper notification of just the procedural thing of the election?
That's what it started out as.
So we shouldn't get the impression that there's necessarily any election hanky-panky, just improper procedural.
Yeah, mostly improper procedural matters.
So you're just saying, well, the procedure's off, you guys.
So you're
not suggesting to, like, hey, we're all, the NAACP has problems with the election and
but that's what I'm
corruption
saying.
proper. It's just like,
it's
dot the T's and cross the I's.
Exactly.
Cross the T's and dot the I's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes situations get overblown because people try to avoid the responsibilities that they have as leaders. And
so yourself as the ex-taskmaster on the state level, that's all you were like doing.
Huh?
That's all you were doing.
That's all I was doing. I was trying to make sure that they followed.
So the reaction is something like a tempest in a teapot.
Yes.
The overreaction, and that comes from ignorance. And hopefully, today's show has helped the audience better understand the position of Jimmy Griffith here, life member in NAACP, and also that same mother organization, the NAACP. We thank you very much, Jimmy, for being a guest, and hopefully you'll come back.
Okay.